right, we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Extraordinary Exchange podcast. I am your host with the most, Nate. I got my fill-in co-host again, Benz. What's good with you, family?
Once again, it's on. What's up with y'all?
Ain't nothing, man. All is well. Be blessed in the land of the living.
Yeah, straight up.
Let's get it.
That's what's important.
And on the pod tonight, man, we got another prestigious guest, man. We got a man that wears many hats, a Renaissance man, so to speak, a mover and shaker throughout the DMV, party starter, movement trendsetter, the founder of Join The MVEMNT, the DC Food and Wine Festival, basement R&B parties, like the list goes on and on. My man is well connected throughout multiple industries, but we'll get into his story, how he got started and what he's doing for the culture. But without further ado, gotta say wagwan to the brother Anwaa Kong, man. What's good with you, Anwaa?
Yeah, what's good, man? I appreciate y'all having me on, man. These podcasts and these spotlights are important. You know what I'm saying? We gotta celebrate our own, and it's dope what you brothers are doing, man. So salute to y'all one time.
Appreciate that.
Definitely. And it's funny, man. Like you and I have been following each other on social media for a while. I know we've been in the same room, and been in some of the same circles, but never really met and chopped it up. And last year at InvestFest, I want to say was the first time we really connected. I'm just minding my business. Shout out to the fellas at Earn Your Leisure who threw an amazing event down in Atlanta. I'm just walking in the hall, minding my business. Hey, yo, what up, Nate? I'm like, oh snap, what up, man? Why? So we had to go all the way to Atlanta to finally connect. And we was talking about what he was doing in the DMV, and we were talking about what we were doing. And once we launched the podcast, we were like, yo, we gotta have you on, family. So again, welcome. Appreciate you for taking the time.
Appreciate that, man.
Share with the people kind of your background, who you are, where you from, and what it is that you do, man.
I mean, you kind of like already say everything I'm doing currently. For me, I've done quite a few things. So went to Morgan State University, Baltimore. Spent time there while I was there. You know what I'm saying? Got active on campus. Got busy there. That kind of got me into like the whole entertainment. This is kind of what I wanted to do. And left there. Came back to DC. Worked at BET for a couple of years. Started a nightlife photography company at a time called Elite DC. Did that full time for 7 years. And in the middle of all of that, just learning the game, learning marketing from a nightlife perspective from big brands. 2012, I got hired as the Crown Royal brand ambassador in DC, which was kind of unique, being a photographer that was a brand ambassador. You know what I mean? Because most brand ambassadors at that time were either promoters or like, you know what I'm saying, the cool kids, and they're like, yo, let's give it to the photographer. So that was kind of cool, being able to do something different where like I would go out and taking pictures of all the clubs, but then also I could be like, yo, let me take you to the bar and buy you a drink. You know what I'm saying? That real one-on-one connection with everyone. And that kind of like gave me my popularity, if you will. That kind of led into roles with like Ciroc and like, you know what I'm saying? Actually, I was doing photography work with Ciroc before that, you know what I'm saying? Like, been all over the country with Ciroc, all the All-Star weekends, you know what I'm saying? Miami, LA, Vegas, going around following Diddy around, doing all of that. Did that kind of led into like more brand work. Did Reebok, Pepsi, bunch of brands, you know what I mean? And it's now like I'm just here, step from behind the camera into doing like just building out this brand. I've always been like a brand builder, and I've had multiple platforms. Join the MVEMNT is the latest iteration of what I'm building. Always in a kind of like the same vein of like always spotlighting people, putting people on. You know what I mean? That was the purpose. You know what I mean? So here we are now, understanding, we can kind of get more into it, but that's kind of where we are now, just building out this movement brand, trying to make it into an event powerhouse, but also like a media powerhouse. Like, you know what I mean? Movement needs to be if there's like a Live Nation or something like that, we could be like the Urban Live Nation. But then also we should be like a complex magazine mixed in with like a Wall Street Journal, right? So just kind of tackling both those fields and proceeding.
So I gotta ask you this. So me as a young 20-something at the National Treasure Morgan State University, and all my homeboys would go out, look out, and go to these parties every weekend and see the promoters. And as you said, the promoters end up being looked upon as the cool guy. So everybody wants to try it. Looks like money. The girls want to get into the party, so that they're the happening guy. So everybody tries it. And I remember once upon a time we had a party at the Paradox, running out the Paradox. I was doing something, running out the Paradox. It wasn't. It was. I was helping some some of my friends do it. Running out the Paradox, and we had about 2-3 weeks. We were planning hard on the bridge, passing out flyers, doing a whole bunch of stuff. Come Friday night in the big Paradox building, it was about 7 people and PD Pablo. We're the only people in the building. Now, mind you, this is well after PD Pablo was PD Pablo. This was well after that. But that's who was in there. So I guess I said all that to say this. It seems like an easy road that people want to try. How were you able to go from before you were able to get in contact with those big brands? What were like some of the foundational steps you were able to do to kind of go from, hey, I'm just throwing a party, to really building a prosperous brand around that? Because like everybody wants to do it, but what was your some tips to doing that? Well, I would guess I would say.
The number one thing about with promoting is, and I try to tell people, like, if you're doing it for popularity, then you'll be popular, and that's all you're gonna get from it. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about promoting and young promoters, they don't see it as a business. It's just something that they just do. You know what I mean? And I think, like, for me, I've always looked at everything as a business. So like for me, it was like, I remember, like, so for me, like, everything, the bulb kind of went off. So like I was in Morgan, and I started this magazine called I had this website called BaltimoreCollegeParty.com, right? And my uncle, he was in sales. So like I had this party website, um, and he went out and got me a $550 check from some business. Um, and I was like, dog, like, they really paying me to advertise on my website. And you gotta figure, this is like 2005. So in college, a $550 check from a business advertising on your little website, you know what I'm saying? Like, it clicked for me. It was like, all right, bet, like, there's money in this, and this is what I want to do. Like, I'm a build out websites, I'm gonna build out brands, and if I build it, they will come. So like, it's always been about like building. It ain't been about a short term check. You know what I'm saying? Then when I came back to DC, I was just a photographer at the clubs, but all the other photographers out there, they were just like getting paid for the night. They probably charged more than I did, but like, my game plan was, everybody, if people are charging $200 for a night, I'm gonna charge $100 for an hour and a half or an hour. I'm gonna take pictures at your parties, but I'm gonna put the pictures on my website before anybody else will get the pictures. They gotta come to my website, give me their emails, give me all their information. Um, so like, since 2008, I've just been about the data. You know what I'm saying? Before everyone was like thinking about data, I was like, nah, I'm gonna collect data. So that's what kind of gave me my leverage. It's like I just had such a big email list. I didn't charge as much. I made good money, but also like the data was more important for me.
Fam, you talk about the data, and it takes me back to on the club promotion side, back when we used to be in line at Love, or even some of the smaller establishments, where before all that stuff was automated, they had clipboards, and they handed the clipboard to people. You put in your email address, and then you just hand it back, and then they would take that and just, I guess, spam you to death and just share that
Yeah.
information on there. But again, like, having that at the time was valuable, and people didn't realize how valuable that was. So you talking about that.
That era Anwaa was talking about is a very important era too, though, because
Mhm.
it was everybody had cameras and stuff. People, but there was no social media hub to see your pictures. So those are those places where the photographer said, "Oh, go to my site after the party, so you can get your pictures to post on your stuff." But it really wasn't no intermediary in there. Was a great way to promote, use that space, a great way to funnel traffic to your site. So I mean, that was like a critical moment where like it was decentralized kind of for the entrepreneurs. So I like that. It's a
Because
good time.
there was no Instagram. Facebook, I think, was just for college folks, so they weren't really, that. So him having his own website like that, like, was dope. Where was the forward thinking, when it came to that? Because that's an innovative strategy at that time.
I always been, first of all, I always had an entrepreneurial mindset. Like my whole life, I've never like wanted to do anything but be an entrepreneur. Like this is like my whole life. I can't remember. There was never a moment in my entire life I thought I'm gonna have a job like that. As a child, I never grew up saying I want to be an officer, police. It was like, no, I want to be a businessman. That's always been my thing, right? So I always, when the internet first started getting popping, I was always on the internet. Like I just remember the first time I got America Online. You know what I'm saying? Like just figuring out everything. How do I build websites? How do I do this? How do I do that? Like my first website in college, I got a refund check, and I remember going to the bank, getting a cashier's check for like $500 or something like that, mailing off the check to somebody in India to do my website. And then like my couple days, like a week or two later, my website was up, and I was like, "Yo, my website is up." But then like in that moment, I was like, "Nah, I'm one of." Okay, so backstory: I'm one of those people where if I pay you to do something, I'm gonna go ahead and try to learn how to do it. So next time you're having a conversation with me, I can understand it. You know what I'm saying? So like that guy did it, and then he built my website. Then my homeboy Mark, um, he put me onto Dreamweaver and then how to build like websites like with images and HTML and stuff like that. And don't like, you know what I'm saying, MySpace teach people how to code, you know what I'm saying? Like so you're coding your MySpace pages or your Black Planet pages, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Then you were doing HTML. So when Dreamweaver and all that come around, you learn how to upload images. So I've always thought the internet was the way. And then it was just like, okay, how do I use this to benefit me when everybody else don't really see it yet? You know what I mean? So it was like, I always thought apps are going to be popping. I thought websites were going to be popping. And then if you live in DC, one of the real things that are kind of like locked in on websites too is kind of like when I was working at BET from 2006 to 2009, I had a desk job, but I was always on the internet. Like I was I'm like, yo, everybody's on the internet while they're at work. Do a website. Like there's no brainer to not have a website. So that's the forward thinking.
And I guess that entrepreneurial spirit always wins out. That's one thing that we've always learned um, doing these episodes, doing these interviews, is that your first two or three tries might not be the one, but that entrepreneurial spirit and figuring out and how to optimize what you're trying to do always ends up winning out. So I'm just happy to hear you say those same type of things. So we kind of went down the journey from Morgan, BET. When was the time when you decided to make your own organization to kind of take that next level into I'm going to do my own thing and start promoting your own stuff?
Um, I mean, it's been like a journey. So in college, I had the website, Baltimore. I had BaltimoreCollegeParty.com and at Morgan when I graduated, and then kind of crazy is kind of like so like I was taking pictures at all the parties, right? And I was going to the parties taking pictures, BaltimoreCollegeParty.com. So then all the promoters they got together and created this other website called Extreme Nightlife, right? So they boxed me out. So when they boxed me out, I was like, all right, how do I pivot? I pivoted into a magazine, like, Baltimore College Party magazine. And then I remember my senior year in at Morgan, I had students on campuses interning with my magazine. And I was like, I'm in internship class and I'm grading my fellow students about how they're like interning with my magazine. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And so like you learn to pivot. So like I've always been like, okay, how do I pivot? How do I pivot? How do I pivot? So fast forward, I'm in DC. I got my website up, Elite DC, and I'm taking pictures. So as I'm taking pictures, um, this club was like, "Hey, you should promote Friday nights," and I was like, "Well, all right, that's cool, whatever." So I got my boy Dan, and we took over this Friday night, and I remember it was like it was the weekend of Obama's first inauguration, and I'm talking DC was smoking. Like I remember that first party we did, like we made so much money that night. I was like, all right, cool, we're gonna see what's up. So we did that for like 2 more months, and I remember the time I had like 10K saved up. I was like, all right, I'm quitting BT. Like, I'm gonna do this full time. So I was like promoting, but then also like I was going to everybody else's parties and taking pictures. So it was kind of like people. I'm promoting my own party, but you're gonna allow me into your party to take pictures and meet all your friends. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of a weird space, but yeah, that's kind of like the catalyst to always that's what kind of pushed me forward, man. Like once I had enough money, I was like, all right, cool, I can go forward. And then that's when I just jumped out and like went full time.
That was a great jump start too, because I remember at the Obama inauguration, I was there freezing my ass off, and
Yeah,
then
that's right.
and then outside for the parties, it was cold, but we didn't even care, bro. We just want to
Nobody
get
cared,
inside
bro.
and just feel the vibe of just the whole country was just coming in. That was a beautiful time, man. That was a
Yeah,
beautiful
man.
time.
That was a great weekend.
Um, so building these brands, talk about the how specific and intentional you are when you're building brands and posting on social media. It's more than just, all right, I'm gonna put this out there, I'm gonna put this out there. Talk about some of these branding strategies that you use when building some of these iconic brands that you name.
I think, when you're working with like liquor brands, the thing is about getting liquid to lips, and how do you get the liquid to lips, right? How you get people to try your product. Um, so you really just want to be in the spaces where people are, where they're trying it organically. It's not forced up on them. You know what I'm saying? I think, when I was working with Crown Royal at the time, everybody was drinking like vodka. Like it was a vodka city. Like you
Velvy,
could not get you could
Goose.
not it was yeah, Velvy. But I mean Belvy, Grey Goose, Ciroc, like you could not get people to drink brown spirits. That was an era, bro. Like people not drinking. So obviously, like I'm in the club, nobody wants to drink Crown Royal. It's a whiskey, like no, your grandfather used to drink that. You know what I'm saying? So, so like I had to be different about it. So like what I did was I came with this thing called a Royal Lemonade, right? So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do the Royal Lemonade. I'm gonna come to the club, and I would come to the club and I would bring my own Simply Lemonade bottles, and like I would give them to the bottle girls, and they would pour them out in crafts and bring it to me. And then at the tables, I would make these like almost like a punch at the tables, and then that's how I got people to drink it. So first of all, you gotta know your demographic, right? And you gotta know like, hey, as women are here, we need them to drink it. If you want them to drink it, then you got to make it. You got to give them something sweet so they can't even taste the whiskey in it. You know what I'm saying? And then they will drink it, and then they'll have a good time. So I did that so well that after a period of time, dudes would come to the club and buy like Crown Royal, but they're like, "Yo, Anwaa, I'm only gonna buy the Crown Royal if you come to the club and make the Royal Lemonade at the table." So I have it for the shorties, and I'd be like, "All right, cool. Buy the bottles. I pull up and I'll make the Royal Lemonade for you." And I started doing that. You know what I mean? When Reebok came around, they wanted everybody to wear Reebok Classics. But you gotta remember, like, so the cool one of the things about like my kind of career is I've never had the poppin' brand want to work with me. You know what I'm saying? It's always been the upstart brand, the brand that's kind of been like out of favor. Those are always the jobs that I've always gotten, right? I applied for Ciroc, I didn't get that. I applied for Henny, I didn't get that. But I got Crown, I got Reebok, and I got Martell down the line, right? But with Reebok, they were a brand that just been out the culture. They wanted to push these Reebok classics. And my mindset was, well, people have to learn how to style them first. So what I did was I got 2 stylists, and I said we're gonna do a fashion battle. So you versus you, we're gonna get y'all 20 models. You're gonna style them. They're gonna come out, and whoever can style the Reebok classics the best gonna win. You know what I mean? And you become like the style, whatever the title was. But I think everything is trying to figure out, everything has its own strategy. So, but it's how you're going to be disruptive in the space that's going to make your brand stand out. And you know what I mean? And the opportunity isn't with the popping brands. And I try to explain that to a lot of people. Like, you know, if 1942 is the popping tequila right now, there's no opportunity with 1942. But there's going to be a startup tequila brand that wants to get on, and that's the brand you should try to work with, because they're going to be more receptive to your ideas and your thoughts. You know what I mean? If it's already popping, nope. Why is Casamigos going to cut you a check? Lobos might. You know what I'm saying? Like Michael Jordan's joint, whatever, I forgot the name of the joint, but they might cut you a check. You know what I mean? So you gotta find your niche, you know what I mean, and find the brands and the opportunities, that where the opportunities are.
I want to stay right there though. So now that we're going to fast forward a little bit, but in the timeline. But now that you are established brand yourself, have some of the bigger events in the city yourself, do you still feel as though it's more advantageous to work with the smaller brands, although you're now in a position to work with the bigger brands? Like, do you still think it's advantage there?
Of course, like the like I said, the smaller brands are always going to listen to you. Like the popping brands don't need you. They don't need you.
Right.
I mean, they don't need you. And after a while, after a brand gets to a certain status, they stop writing checks. They're just on coast mode. Okay, we now popping. We don't need anybody else. We can just stay right here. When the brand is coming up, there's opportunity for you to go to them and say, "Yo, like, hey, I want you to come to my event, sample out, give the first 100 people a drink, but then also on top of that, you know, what else could we do outside of this space okay, i.e. Remy Martin, like last fall, they were sponsoring a bunch of the R&B parties. But for me, it was more than just the R&B parties. I was like, all right, cool. We're gonna have a Women's History Month event, and then you guys are also going to sponsor that. And that's going to be, I mean, it's cool that you're at the R&B party, but it's more important that you are at this Women's History Month event. And they were down with that. So for me, it's finding the brands that need the help, because obviously Hennessy is the hottest cognac in the game. There's nothing but finding the brand that needs the help, and then trying to show them how you could incorporate them into the culture, if you will, or into whatever you're trying to incorporate them into.
The overlying theme here that I keep hearing is value. You gotta add that value. Like, they don't see you as valuable when they on that mountaintop. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're trying to get their business. And we tell people all the time, like, look left and look right. You know what I'm saying? Come up with the people that are your peers. And then when y'all get up here, it's like, I bet. I remember when you were, blase blah, as opposed to always trying to reach up and high and tap in with those bigger brands. Also, we might have to touch base with Swiss Beats and Timberland. You was doing verses before the verses with the national battle. You might need to get a check for that.
Hey man, tell them to run it.
Yes, sir. But all right, yeah, sponsorships. You talking about getting paid from some of these brands to sponsor some of your events. What are some tips, some strategies that you use? Because I know we're in that space right now, Benz. We putting together, pitch decks for our events as they've been growing and growing. We've had, a few, brands that reached out to us that want to partner with us. Truist was just our main partner at our last Juneteenth event. And we're seeing the power in sponsorships. You providing value to them, and them, partnering with you. What are some tips and strategies you've used over the years to use sponsorships to your advantage?
I think, like, as far as sponsorships, man, like, you want to work with brands who align with you, right? And I think that's to me, that's the most important thing. You know what I mean? Like, we are a brand movement. This movement itself is a brand that, like, We care about Black wealth and Black business. So we're not going to work with a brand who is not about the culture or trying to invest in the culture. You know what I mean? It can't just be about. It can't just be. They can't just be coming trying to figure out how to get new clients, right? They also have to give back. So number one thing for me is like try to find companies who align with your own values and what. Number two is like your pitch that just gotta be right. You know what I mean? You pitch that want to be right. Number three is tell the people what you're offering them. You know what I'm saying? Like that's number one thing. How do you add value? Like what do you bring it to the table? And number three is like know exactly what you want from them. Number four is know exactly what you want from them. Like you could give somebody a deck, but if there's no like ask in the deck, then they don't know what you're looking for. They just have the information. Oh, this is Movement. It's a company. They have X amount of members. Okay, what are they asking for? If you don't know what you're asking for, then you know what I mean. Then there's no way for you to get an answer.
And on your decks, do you have tiers? Like, all right, because we've seen some decks that have tiers. Like, all right, at this level, we'll be looking for this in return, and this is the value you get. This level, gold, silver, platinum. You have tiers on your decks when you offer them to these brands.
Yeah, you gotta have tiers, because everyone isn't. You just want to give people options because everyone not going to want to give you 5 bands, but you might have 10 instead of one company give you 5,000. You might have 10 companies give you 500. You know what I mean? If it's a total that you need to get the event done, like it doesn't matter. Like as long as you get the money, period.
Thanks.
So
and
when you're putting together these events and you say, okay, I have my wine festival coming up. I'm looking to I need some new wines for this year. Are you initiating that conversation with them, or how does that work?
It goes both ways. So some companies I'm inviting them out. Other companies hitting me up like, hey, like we want to be a part of your wine fest. We want to come out and support, or we want to come out and sample or whatnot. So it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
Yeah, especially when you're creating a buzz and throughout the city and you're throwing successful events, like the word is going to get out. You do. I mean, how important that documenting it is with your photography background. You know what I'm saying? Making sure you get some good images, get a good recap video, a little 60-second, 90-second, put that out there. And then people are going to see that and they're going to come flocking anyway. So,
yeah, I think one of the things I used to sell, the term I used to sell a lot when I was a photographer was photo circulation. And it was like, you want to work with me because the amount of people that's going to see your photos. You know what I'm saying? Like, if every party from the city is coming to the same website to see all the photos, like somebody who goes to Park might see the photos from somewhere that went to Rose Bar and vice versa. So that way, the entire city feels connected. Like, oh, I felt like, okay, Park was popping last week. Let me go check it out. Oh, Rose Bar was popping last week. Let me go check it out. So if everybody's in one space, then then the nightlife is moving around. People aren't always going to the same spots. Because like, what kind of happens now is like I feel like people go to like their same spots because.
mm-hmm.
They're only they only follow the Rose Bar promoters, so they only go to Rose Bar. Like they're only on Park's email list, so they only go to Park. You know what I'm saying? So after a while, you go around, I'm seeing the same people. Like, you know what I mean? You kind of want to see new people, and the only way to kind of see new people is to kind of have different events and being marketed in one space. You know what I mean? So you kind of have that flow of people.
But do you have any strategies for that though? Because eventually, as a promoter who throws similar events routinely, how do you spice it up for the people and change the marketing on those similar events to make it new and more exciting and get a different crowd, or, to try to help? Because like I feel like if you're doing the same thing over again, it might get routine. You know what I mean? So like, how do you bring people in?
It gets routine. I mean, that's also for you to step out of your comfort zone and try something different. You know what I'm saying? Like, you also got to look at the marketplace, right? So if the marketplace is telling you like nobody wants to hear trap music. I don't know, why are you doing a trap party 7 nights a week? You know what I'm saying? Like, you should probably flip it up. Maybe we're gonna do an Afrobeats party. Maybe we're gonna do a reggae party. We're gonna do an R&B party. Like, whatever it is, you kind of got to see what people are doing, what people want, because a promoter or an event curator, you are trying to give people what they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like reading the market. Okay, cool. This is what people are into now. Let's do that versus just doing the easy thing. And I think like a lot of people just do the easy thing versus to say, yo, like, this is what people want. Let me step out of my comfort zone and give them that. You know what I mean? Like for the wine fest, it's like I always enjoyed wine fest, like going to different wine fests out of Maryland, but all the wine fests were like
way out
in the
out
woods,
Maryland. You know what I'm
in the
saying?
woods somewhere. Yeah.
In the woods somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Way out Maryland that didn't have any black-owned wines. You know what I'm saying? And you have all these budding black-owned people. So, all right, cool. Like, maybe we need a wine fest in the city. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be it's gonna be more expensive than going to one out in Maryland, but doing it in the city, we can have access to more black-owned businesses, more black-owned wine companies. You know what I'm saying? It's they're just so it's giving the market, looking at the market, what's missing. So let's give the market that. You know what I mean? Versus all right, not doing that and just keep doing the same R&B party every week.
Yeah, and it's convenient. You ain't got to drive an hour. You know what I'm saying? You thinking about, oh, I'm not trying to drink too much wine. I got a whole hour drive back to get home.
Yeah,
in the district,
you could be,
that's beautiful.
You could be right in the city. You
Call your Uber.
You call your Uber. You come. You have a nice time. Drink a couple bottles of wine. If that's what you want to do, then you go home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uber home.
Beautiful.
Versus going all the way out to Ligonor. You know what I mean?
Right. So yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Listening to the market. And you talked about data earlier. Where are you getting this data from when you say, you want to listen to the marketplace? Is it through emails? Is it through social media? Is it just through word of mouth? Or just being ingratiated in the culture and knowing what the culture wants? Where are you getting that data from?
I think it's all the above, right? So I think like you got to know what your core audience is. Like I know movement. Like movement, my core audience is 70% Black women. You know what I'm saying? Between 27 and 35 or 25 and 35. Like that's the core. That's the most people that are on my email list. That's the core, right? You can even say from 20. Let's say 25 to 45 Black women. So what do they want to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? So you look at that and you understand, okay, cool. Black women, they're probably going to be likely to buy tickets versus wait till the last minute. They probably want to have a nice outdoor summer thing where they would wear their sundresses and be cool. They probably want to bring their lawn chairs. You know what I'm saying? So you're looking at all the different things that Black women like, you know what I mean? And then you're kind of building your experience around that. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna say, okay, cool, like we're 30% Black men. What do those 30% Black men want? Like, let's create something for them. So that's through email. Because like every email has like 5,000 data points on it. You know what I'm saying? So so there are services out there. I just do it with MailChimp. MailChimp gives me all this data they just give me all the data, break down my data. But then also on the back end of my website, Google tells me everything about my audience. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are people reading on my website? What are they looking for? Like, are they looking for retail? Are they aspiring, whatever they do. So these are all the information that Google is giving you, MailChimp is giving you. And one of the biggest things that people forget is actually sending out a survey to their list. Like, what do you think about XYZ? What do you want? You know what I'm saying? For the R&B party, I'll send out a survey saying, what do you like? Do you like our DJs? Do you like our venues? What would you change? Here go a list of 20 artists. Who would you like to see? You know what I'm saying? And then taking that information and come back and say, all right, cool. Well, you know, these 10,000 people are telling me they want to see a Marion, so like that's what we need to bring. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get it from the source.
Now, one important thing that you said that kind of rings home with us is um, knowing your demographic. And through our marketing and
Yeah.
promotion, we don't mind being intentionally black. Letting black folks, we're black people in the business space trying to do black folks and do business with you. Now, we don't mind working with everybody, but we don't mind marketing and
Yeah.
promoting to intentionally black folks. My question I have for you is, and internally we have some pushback at times from doing that. So, in your experience, when you do something like, "Hey, I'm having the DC Black Food and Wine Festival. That's the name of my event. I'm marketing it as such." Do you feel like you have any? Does that hurt you in any way? Doing that, as far as
Yeah. I
as far
mean,
as getting sponsorships, as far as the city messing with you, all those type of things. Do you feel like there's any pushback because you're doing it that way?
no, I mean, okay. So obviously, when you do things like that, people see it and people are like, oh, no, that's not for me. All right. Um, but then also it's gonna be people to say that that's for me. Like that is marketing, that is for me. And like I think the city loves it. You know what I mean? DC's a black city. You know what I'm saying? We live in a very like weird area. Not a weird area. It's a unique area. It's a good thing. But like PG, richest black county in America. Montgomery County got a lot of wealthy black people. Virginia got a lot of wealthy black people. DC got a lot of, you know, educated, wealthy black people. So we're in this area where like, you know, yes, and I've seen people on Facebook will say that's reverse racism. So I'm like, I get it, but like I get it, but we're just gonna be true to who we are. You know what I'm saying? And I always tell people like we could be pro black, but not anti white or
Mm-hmm.
anti anything else. You know what I'm saying? Like if you come and you're an ally, because at my events, a lot of people from different races and cultures come to my events.
Facts.
And when you go to my Eventbrite, at the top of my Eventbrite, it says movement, the amplification of black businesses and black wealth. Da, 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 da. That's the first thing you see. Like people know what it is. You know what I'm saying? But we still get a lot of white people that come. We still get a lot of everybody comes. You know what I'm saying? At the Black Food and Wine Fest, there was white people there. Why? Because they're allies. They want to try the food. Food is universal. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I mean, it can hurt, but in my experience, it's helped more than it's hurt.
Yeah, and you, like you said, having that specific target audience. I think a lot of people in business try to attract any and everybody, and you're not going to get any and everybody. But if you stay true to your target audience and to your base, I mean, look at that former president. He targeted to that base, and that base loves him. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So that's super dope. You know what I'm saying? Being unapologetic about it, and I believe we're in a space right now in this country where it's cool, you know, for whatever reason, to promote black. You know what I'm saying? For some of these other companies to align with black initiatives, like you've seen it a lot, specifically during the pandemic. So,
bro,
yeah,
and they make a business decision too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, right.
you know, like the black spending power is like 1.8, 1.6 trillion dollars annually. You know what I'm saying? So they make a business decision. Like they can't afford not to rock with us. They need our bag. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like we spend a little bit more than everybody else as far as like we spend more than we save probably. You know what I mean? Our culture, which is I wish we could work on that more. You know what I'm saying? I think when you look at a movement brand is we got a lot of stuff about just financial literature and like a lot of our articles are probably about something about money. You know what I mean? And our whole thing is we get all these people in through parties, like and having social events. Like so, we're celebrating the culture, right? We celebrating the culture, but then also like we're gonna feed you the information you need. You know what I'm saying? Like we throw the events, but then also we're emailing you about, hey, these are the best save. If you don't want to invest in the stock market, these are the best high yielding savings accounts you need to have. You know what I mean? If you're looking, if you want to invest, but you don't want to like take the chances. Well, here go the best index funds you should invest in. You know what I mean? So those are the things that people look forward to. You know what I mean? To with the movement, and I'm out, and people are like, "Yo, I love your newsletters. Like, I love your newsletters. Don't never change them. We look forward to them." You know what I'm saying? Our newsletter has like, it could be a 60% open rate whenever I send a newsletter out. You know what I'm saying? And but it's like you're giving people what they want, like money, power, and respect, right? Money, teach them about money, teach them about the cool events to go to. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I'm sitting here right now on there. 5 things billionaires know about money.
yeah,
How to invest 100 a month can transform your future. So you got everything from black-owned liquors to buy this weekend. So yeah, the movement is a movement. Like you said on the site, I think it's your tagline is it's a movement, not a moment. So this
yeah,
is not like no fly by night thing. Like y'all
Mm.
here to stay and y'all got staying power. So I love what y'all doing over there, man.
Explain
we're
that
the river.
transition though. Like, how did you go from having those party moments to decide you're going to change those into a full movement? Like, what was that thought process, and how did you take it to that next
Well,
level?
I always felt like, you know what I'm saying, we don't celebrate each other enough. You know what I'm saying? And like every platform I've ever had was about like doing features on like entrepreneurs and like people who are doing the who are being movers and shakers. You know what I mean? Like I think when I had this brand, so I had Elite DC, now Elite DC, then I had DC Weekly, now I got Movement. Um, I was very DC heavy in the first couple iterations of what I was doing. Then I went Movement because like I felt like I wanted to do more national things, and be able to take whatever I'm doing on the road. Like so now we're like we do the R&B party in Baltimore and go and like that does well. You know what I'm saying? Now next to Philly, other markets, right? But it's always been a brand about like putting on for people and like always putting on like people who are the movers and shakers. When I had Elite DC Weekly, my homeboy Rodney is a DC guy, went to Harvard, played football, worked on Wall Street, and then now he's an NFL agent, right? You know, negotiated some of the biggest NFL contracts, right? But he would be at Rose Bar every Friday, just chilling and partying. You know what I'm saying? But like that article we did on him was one of the most popular articles we've ever done, and nobody was telling his story. So that's the important thing. Is like we got to find the people that the Washington Post won't tell the story on. You know what I'm saying? No one is going to tell the story, but like the movement platform or whatever platform I have is going to be able to tell the story. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, he's at the club, but he's also a super well connected, went to Harvard, Wall Street, NFL agent guy. Like that's a story that needs to be told. So that's kind of what that's what the whole movement is. Like we need to find those cool people and then put them on, but then also understanding that young black people want to have a good time, and you can't take that away from them. You know what I'm saying? So it's cool to be black enterprise, but but your crowd is going to be older. It's going to be whatever. It's cool to be complex. It's whatever. But what if you could take all these different things and put them together? You know what I'm saying? What if you could take Eventbrite, Black Enterprise, Essence, Complex, Washington Post, put them together and like build a brand like with the best things in each one of those. You know what I mean? So that's
I
how I
love
think
this
it is.
interview because I feel like a lot of our core mission statements are the same. Highlighting the everyday person that really is doing things in multiple areas is what we do all the time. And I feel
Yeah.
like what you said right there is critical because in our culture, we like to say that the certain class of people do certain things and other people are too good to do certain things. Or if you are the Harvard grad, you want to maintain that public image. You don't want to show that, yeah, I'm at Rose Barn Saturday night popping bottles too, like everybody else. And so, like, everybody has those multiple levels, multiple sides of their life where you can do certain things in one regard and go party and have fun on Saturday night too. And we often like to segregate that. And so highlighting that, hey, everybody's regular. The same guys that own the bar come to the other bar on Saturday. It's the same. It's like the same crew, and we don't like to highlight that. So that's an important thing that you're doing, that showing that bridge that, yeah, we're all regular people having fun and we get business done Monday through Friday. Same thing.
Exactly. And one of my, well, I always tell people this, man. The same person that goes to brunch on Sunday at the park and be lit off of mimosas, on Monday they get up. All right, bet. What my stocks looking like? What my 401k looking like? What am I investing in? Like, it's the same people, man. Like, we're not one-sided. We have multiple sides to us, and they coexist really well. You know what I mean? And that's really what we're here for. Like, we want to show that and say, be yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Don't feel judged one way, shape, or form.
And that comes with maturity, with growth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was one time when I first got out the military and was in the workforce. You know, I like to be suited and booted. You know what I'm saying? But I was going to work with a tie, slick bottoms on, slacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was gonna be fresh either way. But after a while, I realized, like, my professionalism and my name preceded me. Like, I didn't need to do that. So I can go in there with a t-shirt and some cargos on and provide the same value to the workplace. You know what I'm saying? So it you still want to be presentable, you know, but it you know, you don't, it's not necessary, so to speak. And showing the different sides of us. You know, we can be ourselves. We can, you know, I don't mean to keep shouting out Earn Your Leisure. That's why I rock with them guys so well. You know what I'm saying? Because they just themselves. You know, they don't gotta feel like they gotta talk a certain way to be in certain rooms. They don't have to try to fit in. They're gonna be their authentic selves every time they show up in front of a camera at an event, and you know, they're providing value to the culture, and that's what we all three of us, and all the you know, organizations that we rock with, we all doing the same thing. So I love it. The movement.
That's it, man. Straight up, man. Straight up.
And when you said earlier about like not being, even the events, the black events, at the end of the day, when you're being yourself or having these special events, it's gonna be just as many people that's gonna rock with you because you're being you, that say they don't like you. You know what I mean? So that you're gonna gain as many people as you lose when you're being yourself. So just go ahead and embrace it and do what you do. And those people that don't like you, hey, you know, they don't want to do business or whatever, cool. But it's gonna be those that genuinely appreciate you being yourself even more. So that's my biggest thing.
I think people appreciate like the brand of what we stand for. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
I love it.
Real quick to pivot. I know we were talking about this before in the previous episode we tried to record with you. How Movement had a grant that you had applied for. Maybe it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So like one of the things with Movement, and so when I launched Movement in 2018, like I went around trying to get people to invest in the brand, and no one would give me $1. You know what I'm saying? Like, people just didn't see the value in it at the time. And like, I'm not gonna front right now. I am more than happy. I am so happy no one gave me any money. I'm fully transparent.
Yeah.
I think at the time I was looking for like $10,000 for like 20% of the company or something like that. And I remember I was like, all right, cool. We got to go into the event. So went into the event space, and that's how Movement took off. But with that being said, what it taught me was like, there's a lot of young entrepreneurs out here who have ideas, and the idea might just be to create a t-shirt brand. It might just be to create a candle brand or whatever. So we had done, like, last fall, we had said, hey, we'll give out $1,000 grant, you know what I'm saying, for you to start your business, and we're gonna give you 6 months with our like accountant and tax guy, and we're gonna give you 6 months of legal shield for you to like deal with your copyrights and everything that you want. We'll pay for all that. And we did it, but the thing was, people just didn't send decks. Like, a lot of people applied for it, but at the last part it says attach your deck, and no one attached decks. So I just was like, all right, well, I can't give this money out because like I don't feel like anybody, you know what I'm saying, anyone is taking it seriously enough to attach a full deck, or at least a small one-sheeter about their business. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that kind of like you know, and as we're a brand that work with a lot of small businesses, man, i.e. for the Black Food and Wine Fest, we had over 400 vendor applications. But when I went to people's websites, social media, like just nothing was together. So like we got to cancel out so many people just because they're not like presentable. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that's kind of like that makes me sad in a way. It's like I just wish more people understood like how to be the professionalism. So we'll probably start it. I'm gonna try it again this fall. You know what I'm saying? So we could do that. You know, and that'll be a part. So like but I'm launching. So one of the things I went to like an award show maybe like a couple weeks ago, and just like literally like no Black people won anything. You know what I'm saying? Like and I felt like yo, like no one is celebrating us. You know what I'm saying? And I used to do like the Elite DC Awards. I did I did the Elite DC Awards back in the day. I did the DC Weekly Awards. So like and like probably next week I'm launching the DC Black Business Awards, right? And we got to celebrate each other. Like, and it just so happened that the grant is going to be a part of that. So like we're going to do like the whole voting thing, and then like at the award ceremony we're going to announce who's going to be the winner of the grant to go forward. So that's like the pivot, and you know what I mean. So,
but that's dope. Like that's more awards, more highlights, more because it's one of our founders, B Smith, said it one day. Like, hey, some of us are superheroes out here. And especially if you look at the demographics of other people who are our age and what they're doing, like looking at the reports, the job reports a couple weeks ago, the average 40-year-old Black man is making like $38,000 a year in America.
yeah.
So if you're a person, and I'm not knocking those people, but if you're a person who's making $60,000 a year, you need to take a step back and celebrate yourself. You're doing double the amount of thing the average person's doing. Which and so I don't think the average guy who's out here making $60,000 a year really understands and appreciates that. You know what I mean? And so there is and those are everyday heroes that are working hard, doing a little bit more than the next guy to build their family, build a community, and they need to be celebrated. So I love that. I love that idea.
Nah, for sure, man. I think like we gotta celebrate each other more, for sure. You know what I mean? When people in our community are doing well and like and are crushing it, we have to be the first to put them on the mountaintop and say, yo, that guy right there or that woman right there is killing it, man. Like, you know, I'm it's so many dope Black owned restaurants in the city, food trucks, like, and they deserve awards too. You know what I mean? They deserve their night. You know, you own a marketing firm, you own a practice, some kind of practice. You know, you're a dope Black owned podcast, whatever it is. You deserve to stand on stage with just like everybody else and give your acceptance speech in front of people, in front of your own people, man. And I think that's what we need more of. You know what I mean?
I tell the fellas all the time, there's 12 of us in the group, and for years we didn't have an investment group. We didn't have a podcast, but I feel like once we launched it and we were looking for support, we got overwhelming love and support from the community because we were always the people in the community showing love to everybody else. Going to your grand opening for your bar or to your party or your pop-up shop, or you know what I'm saying? We've always shown love and supported others, but we ain't had nothing to offer. But now we got stuff and it's like overwhelming love and support and you know, you give love, you get love. So that's right there what you're talking about right there. And it's dope how you went from applying for a grant, not getting that grant, and then saying, you know what, I'm gonna just pivot and offer this grant to the next generation of entrepreneurs. So that right there is dope too. And like it's so many gems in that story right there that you just told of resilience. You know what I'm saying? Not giving up on your dream. Because a lot of people, oh man, I can't get this money for this. It's probably not meant to be. Nah, you just gotta, you know, as entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers. We gotta figure out like, okay, it didn't work this way. How can I pivot and make it work? Because that's my dream. That's my passion. That's what I'm trying to do. So you had all that encapsulated in that story right there. So that's dope, man.
Straight up, man. Like you gotta find a way. You know what I mean? That's number one thing. Like, You know, like no's don't mean no. You know what I mean? No's mean find another way. You know what I mean? You got, but you never quit. And it's one of the things, man. Like Jay-Z said it, the genius thing we did was just never give up. You know what I'm saying? And like if you just never quit, some amazing. I always tell people, man, if you just never quit, some amazing things will happen for you in life. You know what I mean? You just gotta keep plugging away at it.
The tortoise and the hare mentality. The tortoise is gonna get to the finish line eventually. It's you just gotta keep moving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It may not be as fast as the hare. You know what I'm saying? And that's the issue we got a lot of times. We look left, we look right, we get envious of what other people are doing, and we, you know, that little voice in the back of our heads like, oh, that should have been me. And celebrate them, because you know when it's your time to get up there, you're gonna want people to celebrate you. You know, keep going on the journey, man. So, man. It's been a powerful conversation right here, bro. It's been a really powerful conversation, yo.
I appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah, man. Let's wrap it up, man. We won't hold you too long. What tell people where they can find you, where they can support all the many different avenues and ventures you got going on. And we'll make sure we put them in the comments. There's gonna be a whole laundry list of them, but yeah, where can people find you, man? Support what you got going
on. So I mean, just first and foremost, thank you all for having me on, man. I said, like, it's important that we share each other's stories along the way. But as far as the brand, like, the brand is just Join the Movement. Movement is spelled MVEMNT. Just join the movement. You can follow us there. We post everything there. On the website, it's just movement.com, MVEMNT.com. Check us out. Join our mailing list, get on our text blast list. You know what I mean? And lock in, man. We got a lot of stuff coming up. We have R&B, we have the R&B basement, we have the R&B cookout. We got there's so much going on, man. We're trying to go up. And also DC Black Food and Wine again this fall. So like look out for that.
And y'all got a dope podcast space in the district too. So if I'll see Extraordinary Exchange podcast in a new space, just know it might be because of this gentleman right here.
Hey man, for sure, man. Pull up. When y'all all together, man, come through and do a special episode in a space, man. On me, man. Pull up.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, we definitely gonna tap in with you. I got a couple questions to ask you as soon as we cut the camera off right now. So we got some business to do. So yeah, I'm ready for it. So but we do thank you for coming out. We appreciate you. Like I said, hopefully we can definitely get some more collaborative business between us and the whole community all together. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, we say, man. Collaboration over competition, man. We say it all the time. Collaboration over competition, man. So let's get it.
Straight up.
But yeah, man, everybody, we appreciate y'all tapping in with us at the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast, powered by the Extraordinary Investment Group. Me and Benz, we 2 of 12 Black men that's in the community, trying to affect change through education and smart financial strategies. And this was one way to do that, sharing this dope entrepreneur story right here and the many, many, many other stories that we have on the pod. So, yeah, man.
I got one last question.
What up?
What y'all gonna do with Bitcoin, though?
So what I would say is this here: the Bitcoin halving's probably April 24. They're saying traditionally during the Bitcoin halving time period, you get a good surge in Bitcoin. I think around the $30,000 level right now is decent support. I would be buying some Bitcoin right now if I was just no financial advice. But
this is but entertainment purposes.
Now would be a good area to buy some if you want to hold it for 6-8 months.
Yeah, straight up. All right.
Cool.
Matter of fact, I got one more story while we there. For all my listeners that's still here, Anwaa talked about 20 years ago how the picture sites would have you come to the website for the camera, get your picture at the club party. Shout out to E.I.G. founding member Yannick Roll, who in 2023 still has the marking of the pictures.com on his Instagram profile picture. 2023. He got a 20-year-old picture on his Instagram profile picture with the ad mark on there from the clubs that he talked about 20 years ago. Shout out to Yannick Roll. And we out on that note.
You still got that same picture, dog. You funny. He do. Shout out Yannick. Shout out Yannick. Hey, you hilarious, dog. I'm gonna hit you.
You know?
All right, man. With that being said, y'all be blessed, be easy. We'll see y'all next episode, man. All right? Peace.